Hello and welcome to the third and final episode of our Session Zero. This is a prologue that I recorded after I completed it. The third part of Session Zero was quite long. It's about 45 minutes, and I warn you that there are lots of times where I kind of wasn't sure what I was doing. It was the very first time I'd ever made up a sector, and there were some things that kind of threw me for a loop, some things that didn't quite work the way I expected within the interface, both because of the way Foundry works and because of the way the mod for Foundry that does the Starforged and Ironsworn stuff works. So things didn't work out exactly the way I expected, and there were lots of fits and starts and pauses, and I'll come right backs, and times where I'm looking stuff up, and I wasn't sure, and I had the Starforged book open, but sometimes it was open on the wrong page. And again, I'm fairly new to Starforged, so unlike Ironsworn, I didn't know right where to look. So if it's going to frustrate you to watch me and listen to me sort of feeling my way through, I recommend that you just fast forward to the very first session, and I will summarize everything, the character, the world setting, and the sector before we start. So I do apologize for how kind of awkward and sort of non-linear this episode is. The other episodes are much more streamlined. I thought this was going to take me maybe 20 minutes, and it ended up taking me well over an hour and a half. You only didn't see the 45 minutes that was paused through, where I was creating stuff and looking things up and so on. So I do apologize for that. If it's going to frustrate you to watch that, then please don't, and instead just go ahead and watch the very first episode of Session 1. Hello and welcome. I am Scrapperlock, and this is Starforged Alpha Cluster. Welcome back to our next part, our third part of Session 0. And in this session, we will actually generate the first sector in the Alpha Cluster. And so I've done a little bit more work on figuring things out just to do some prep. I do want to remind folks that's technically play because, as Sean says in Starforged, prep is play. So if you remember right, we had the alpha cluster outlined as a hex. I've redone this with the hexes going horizontally across the top, or in hexes in columns, I guess that is, just because I didn't realize that they were pointed at the top, and when I went to make the sector map and the alpha cluster map, I had the hex flat on the top. And by the time I realized that, it was easier to change this. So remember that each hex is 100 light years, and what I'm defining in each hex is kind of quote unquote a star cluster or something like that. It's a region bigger than a sector that contains sectors in it. If I can think of a better word than cluster in future campaigns, I might use that. But for right now, it's a cluster of stars within this globular cluster of larger stars, right, within this sort of globular galaxy. Now, in default Starforged, what Sean does is he uses hexes on a sector map, but he creates on his sheet, a rectangular sector map. But what I decided to do, and I could have just done this as a square grid if I'd wanted to, but I like doing hexes. And so I decided to do hexes for this. It's just arbitrary. And so I'm dividing the cluster galaxy into a series of hexagonal clusters. And this is the alpha cluster, the first one we're starting in. I placed it over here. And so what I did was I then went to the public domain, Google, Pixbay free images, and got a couple of starfield shots. And these are all usable in the public domain to make a background for the map. You could use black if you want, but I think it looks cooler with stars. So this is a map of the alpha cluster. And the alpha cluster, if we put a ruler on this, is 100 light years long. Okay? And 100 light years in this direction, and so on. And if we look at our stellar cartography in here, where is it? Outlands. What I figured out was how many sort of stars there are per cluster hex. So this is an Outlands hex. That means there are 1,000 stars in this cluster, right? It's denser, a lot denser than it is in our part of the Milky Way. That would be 200 stars in this cluster, right? And as you can see, there are about 20 hexes in here. If you count the half hexes, there are 13 whole hexes, and then 6 half hexes, right? So there are about 18, whatever. There would be 10 stars per hex-ish, about 13 stars per hex in the Milky Way where we are. But where these guys are in the Outlands, there are going to be about 63 stars in each of these hexes. So there's a lot of stars in here. And basically, each one of these hexes, right, is 25 light years across. And that is a sector, right? And so what you're generating in this larger cluster, this is me. This is not something that comes from Starforged. I decided to do this. Sean, would say you don't even need a map. You can all do theater of the mind. I like to have it all scaled this way. So we have all of these hexes within a hex, right? And the hex is 100 light years across. And then each of these hexes, right, is about 25 light years across, as you can see that, right? So now we're going to zoom in on a random one of these hexes, and that hex is going to be the sector we start in. And since it's an outland sector, it starts with, like, I think 3 settlements and any number of other stars. So there's going to be 3 settlements around 3 of the stars, but there are like 60 other stars that could be explored in that first sector. And it may be that we could do the whole campaign just in one sector. I simply don't know what's going to happen. So what we need to do is first decide which of these starting hexes is going to be the starting sector. And I'm going to determine this randomly. What I'm going to do is overrule if we get the outer one. I don't want to start on the edge. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about hexes that are in 2 sectors at once. I'm going to figure that out at another time. So I created a custom roll table which uses D14. You can do whatever you want. It's just a random number generator. And 14 is a border location. So if we get a 14, we're going to re-roll it. Otherwise, whichever hex we start in is going to be, whichever hex we roll is going to be the hex we started in. I have this set up to not replace the rolls. So if it rolls sector 8, it's going to block that out. It's going to lock it. And then the next time it rolls, it'll roll D14, but if it rolls 8, it'll automatically re-roll until it gets something other than 8. And eventually all of these sectors will be filled up. So we don't have to manually re-roll. It'll do it for us. So let's go ahead and roll. And we end up in sector 14. That's what we didn't want to do. So let's re-roll that, because that's the border one. I don't want to do that. So let's roll that again. And it shouldn't happen again. It's now locked. I will unlock it. I should have locked it before. I will unlock it after we've got a couple of these sectors filled in. So we're starting in sector 1. Okay, right in the center. So I'm going to set up the sector, and I will bring you back when I've got it set on this map, and then we'll go to the sector map. Okay, so I've got the sector quote-unquote set up. All I really mean by this is that I drew a little shape, and we're going to name it. I wish there was a way to link it so that you could click on this and it would take you to this sector map, but I don't think there's a way to do that without using mods. So we need oracles for the sectors. So first we're going to determine the name of the sector, I think. Or is that the last thing we do? Nope, he doesn't really have a step for that, so I'm going to just do that on step 1 and choose a name. So let's see, sectors, space, sector name, prefix, suffix, and we get Chronos Tide. That is the name of this sector. So that is our first sector, is sector Chronos Tide, and that is where we are starting. So let me go to the sector map and get that started up, and then we'll continue with doing some more rolls. All right, folks, so this is our Chronos Tide sector, and again, if you look at the measurement, it doesn't count the first hex. You can see as we do a second hex, it's saying it's only 1 light year. But if we count the width of this hex from the edge, which you kind of can't do, it starts from the center, so it only goes center to center. But if you go edge to edge, this would be 25 light years across. So this is the hex right here, right, zoomed in and divided up into 1 light year hexes. So it's 25 light years across. And if we go here, this hex is 25 light years across, again, going center to center, right? So edge to edge is 25 light years. So it's not exactly perfect because of the way the hexes are scaled in here, but this is the idea. This sector now will contain our starting settlements and up to 63 stars. Now that may sound like a lot, but remember this is it's about 20 hexes vertically this way, right? And so that means if you filled up the middle 3 columns with stars, there wouldn't be stars anywhere else. So the vast majority of the space is still empty, but it's much more densely packed, 5 times more densely packed than our area of the galaxy. So if you think about like Alpha Centauri, Proxima Centauri, however close they are, what are they, like 20 light years away, something like that, they'd only be 3 or 4 light years away. They'd be much closer. And so in terms of the density, and we'd see a lot more stars, bright stars in the sky, because they'd be so much closer to us than what we normally have in our part of the Milky Way. I also want to point out for the Google algorithm, this is another free image from Pixbay Free Images. Royalty free. You can download them for free at Pixbay. Just type in Starfield and you'll get it. And there's a bunch of them. And I thought this was a cool one because if we go to the Forge here, it is sort of a reddish looking color. So we're in Chronos Tide, and what we have to do is generate some starting settlements. So there are going to be 3 starting settlements, and we have to create the settlement name, its location, its population, the authority, and the projects that they may have. So we're going to generate the starting settlements. So let's go to, I don't know if this lets you do it. New sector, new star, new planet, new settlement. Okay, so this is a new settlement here that has been randomly generated in this hex, right? And we're going to have to generate its name and stuff like that. So fortunately, it's got oracles right here. So first we do the settlement name, and it is Brink. I like this. And it is an outland settlement, and that is correct. And then it is planet side, and so that gives it a square. And then I guess we can randomly generate all this. This is very nice. It's very easy. So, no, it's not planet side. It's orbital. It generated a totally new settlement. Oh, I see. It generated everything at once. So sorry, it's not Brink. It's Pinnacle, and it's an orbital settlement with a population of hundreds. Oh, no, it just re-rolled it. I didn't mean to do that. All right, so sorry, guys, I'm getting used to this. All right, so the population is hundreds. The first look is it's a defensible location. The authority is oppressive. And then projects, roll once or twice. 1. Agriculture and subsistence. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back and call this Brink, right? Because that was the original, and it was originally planet side. And so that is, I just want to keep what we originally rolled. So it's a planet side settlement with hundreds of people. It's a defensible location. on a first look. So it must be, maybe it's up on a cliff or something, right? So up on a plateau. And the authority is oppressive. The projects are agriculture and subsistence. So it's doing subsistence agriculture. So I can kind of imagine that the community is up on the plateau, and then there are maybe fields around it that are, um, I don't know, grassy or whatever. So that's the first one. And I think although it's neat that you can roll it all at once, I think for now I prefer rolling these things one at a time. So that is Brink. Okay, so that's the first one. And then if any settlements are located on a planet, you can identify the name of the planet to help flesh out the nature of the location. So let's see, can we do planet creation? Okay, and the planet's name. Did it not roll? Or am I lagging? What's going on here? There we go. Okay, so it's a desert world. But I don't see the planet name. There it is, Saffron. Okay, so the desert world of Saffron. Um, and then its atmosphere is breathable. That makes sense. From space, it appears to have dry seed beds. Let's see what this, I don't know what settlements is going to do here. We already know we have a settlement. No, that's not true. Settlements, pinnacle. Life is extinct. Planet-side features. Windborne metallic sand and windborne metallic sand. So I guess that's all we've got. The peril with no life on it. I don't know if we need to do that yet. Let's leave that. We don't know what the peril is yet. So we still have, we will work on that as we go. So that takes care of the first planet. Right? And so Saffron was located here, and Pinnacle is going to be located on Saffron. Let's see, like that, I guess. And so that's that. And then what kind of a star does it have? So let's generate a star. And what kind of a star is this? A glowing orange star. And what's its name? Come on. Not sure why it's not generating this, guys. So let me pull up the star name roll table. All right, so hang on, let me see if I can find the Oracle manually. All right, so it turns out there aren't any random generators, so I don't know why there's a thing there. But what we're going to do is use Greek letter and then um, the name of the sector. So this is going to be Alpha Chronos. So we renamed our star to Alpha Chronos. And I don't know, let me pause it here and I'll see if I can get up an image for the star. Alright, so I've got an image for it. I'm not going to put it on the map actually, because it's orbited by Saffron. And we're going to say pinnacle settlement in system is, you can just bring these, so it's brink, not pinnacle. So yeah, it's, we got to change the tokens, should say brink. Okay, so yeah, I'm sorry guys, I'm getting used to this. So we have Brink, which is a planetary settlement on Saffron. We'll leave it right there, sort of where it was randomly generated. And Alpha Chronos is the star. So we're going to, on Saffron, we're going to say orbiting. And then we will drag this in. And the advantage of doing it that way is that now if we click on that, it will bring up Alpha Chronos. If we click on that, it will bring up Saffron. It will bring up Brink. It's like hyperlinking, which is super useful. The life is extinct, but of course they are farming on it because they're trying to do subsistence farming on this desert world. This is pretty cool. I like the generation. So we have to make 2 more settlements randomly. So hang on, let me go back to that part of the rules. All right, so we need to generate some more settlements. So let's close this, and we're going to go back to the settlement menu and generate a new settlement. And the settlement name is Relic. Oh, well, that sounds interesting. And the settlement is orbital. Okay, so it's now generated that. And the population is dozens, so it's a small one. The first look, it has intimidating defenses. Authority is corrupt, so there's a corruption in this sector, it looks like. And projects, shipbuilding, and research. So because it's orbital, we're going to need to generate a planet. And then we're going to ask, is it in the same system as Saffron? And I don't know whether that's going to be true or not. So let's generate a planet for them to be on. So we're going to generate a new planet and give it a name. Is that not working again? So let's bring out the character. So some of this is buggy. They're still working out the kinks of it. Do they have planet names? Alright guys, let me maybe we roll the class of the planet first and then it'll give us a name. Ah, no, it's a tainted world. Oh, so it's an orbit around a tainted world, which is why they're not on it, I guess. And let me figure out the planet. Now here we go, carry-on. All right, so I guess you have to figure out the class of the world first before it gives you the name. That's very interesting. So the planet Carrion. And so its atmosphere is corrosive from space. It has a thick, murky atmosphere. And that's a bug. So let me look up what 92 would be on the table. Alright, so that's an error because it wants us to roll on another table, the core table of descriptor plus focus. So 1, 2, and a barren vault. Interesting. So from space, you can see a barren vault. Maybe that's why we're in here. Maybe she wants to explore the vault. That's a possibility. And this is what I love about the oracles. It starts giving you some cool ideas. So, one of the questions is Carrion, the planet, in the same system as um, as Saffron? I think that's highly unlikely, but it's possible. So let's see, where is the Ask the Oracle? Here we go. So I think it's small chance. And the answer is no. So they're in their own place. So that means we're going to need to create another star. And I shouldn't, oh wait, so, right? So now we're going to create a new star. And this is a blazing blue star and orbited by the planet Carrion, or say planets. There may be other planets, but we know Carrion is there, and then settlements, and we know we have Relic Station as an orbital station. So let's see. Let's roll 2d12 and see what Greek letter will be in this star. And it'll be maybe, beta tide or something. So that's Alpha Chronos. And then if we just roll dice, let's roll 2d12. And that'll generate numbers from 2 to 24. And then I'll look it up on the Greek letters. So the 10th Greek letter. So let me check that. So that's Kappa. So this is Kappa Tide. And that is going to be the name of the new star. And unfortunately, it's not changing it on the token. So let me put in the star, what is blazing blue star, and I'll bring you back. All right, folks, so we have the blue star symbol. And now we have to generate our third settlement. So let's generate another one. And this settlement is called Dead Rock. And it is planet side as well. So we're going to need to see if it's on one of the existing planets. I think the way to do this will be to ask the Oracle. I think it's possible. I mean, Dead Rock could be another settlement on the planet Saffron. I don't think it's going to be on Carrion. So let's ask the Oracle. And what we're going to do is it's going to be unlikely that it's on Saffron. Let's give it a small chance. I really think it'll be somewhere else. Nope. Even with unlikely, it wouldn't have done it. So, nope, it's not on the same planet, which means we need to generate another planet. So it's a planet-side population. Its population is dozens, so it's not big. Its authority is tolerant. Its projects are mining and entertainment. So that's those are its projects. And now we have to figure out a world for Dead Rock. And it's right there. So let's go ahead and generate a planet. And this type of world is a furnace world. Wow. called Cinder. Perfect. Its atmosphere is toxic. It does have one settlement on it. Its life is overrun. Its planetside features are rocky islands adrift on magma and plains of volcanic gas. Well, it certainly seems like a mining world, I guess. Life is overrun. So what does overrun mean? It's being overrun, or it's overrun. It must be overrun with life. I guess. So what perils are there? Disturbing remains of evidence of death. And let's leave it at that. We'll see if there's going to be an opportunity. What do we look at from space? It's you can see a massive supervolcano and magma seas. And so somehow there is a settlement on this planet. Now, the hex where the planets are, that is where these systems are located. So we're going to need to generate another star. And this type of star is a smoldering red star, which is perfect. So let me go ahead and grab that, and let's say planets. We know we have Cinder and settlements, and we know we have dead rock. And so we're going to name this star. So let me again pick a Greek letter. And I will get, so this is the fourth letter, I'll name it, and I'll get a picture of a star and bring you back. All right, folks, let me bring you back. Now, this is Delta Chronos is the name, and it is a smoldering red star. So, not 100% of this map. I might end up just putting the stars on this and just link, because the stars all have like links to the communities. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But so far so good. So these are our 3 planets, and that's the creation of the sector. And we've got a sector map, right? And they say, the Forge's vast, dense stellar clouds, complex star systems, and chaotic energy storms make charting difficult. You mark down important locations, everything else is abstracted or ignored. I have a hard time doing that. I like knowing where everything is. So we arrange the settlements however we like. This is random. It's not meant to track literal distances, but I'm using it to track literal distances. So what this is showing us is that Carrion is 7 light years from Cinder and 14 light years from Saffron. And we've got our sector map. We can mark other notable locations that we learn about the sector. The next step is to create passages. So a passage is a charted route among the drifts. The spacers rely on these routes for travel and trade. Think of it like using the GPS and the freeway to drive instantly to a distant city compared to using vague directions on unmarked roads. From a gameplay perspective, following a passage allows you to resolve the outcome of a perilous journey with something called setting a course, which is easier if you're going through uncharted without the passages among the drifts. You are undertaking an expedition, and the drifts will then potentially lead to danger. So if it's in Outlands, we get 2 passages. So we can set them up, and we can have them go to the edge of the map or between settlements. So let's ask the Oracle, I guess. I guess we're gonna want to do is sort of ask the Oracle and figure out what's going on here. So is one of the passages to the edge of the sector, which will like lead us somewhere else, in the alpha cluster. I'm going to say that's 50-50. No, so both passages are within the sector. All right, so it seems to me like that's obvious. It's going to go Carrion to Cinder and Cinder to Saffron. All right, so let me just double check that we are allowed to do it that way and you're not supposed to make one leaving the sector. Let me just double check. Yep, it's legal to go ahead and draw passages between planets and not have anything. So basically, whoever's in this sector getting out, there isn't an obvious way out. It's almost like you're kind of trapped in here. So that's really interesting. And these three settlements are kind of stuck. So now let's see, does he have passages? He doesn't. So I think we're going to just draw our own. And I'm just going to connect them with lines, I guess. So that's one passage. And that's another passage. And I might pretty this up later because I feel like it looks kind of ugly. But anyway, those are our two passages. And that's all we have. And then he says to zoom in on the settlements and include, we've got our first look, then include settlement troubles. So this settlement has hostile life forms. Troubling it. And that's interesting because Saffron has extinct life. So that doesn't really make sense. So I think what we're going to do... Oh no, wait a minute. Hang on, what happened here? No, Relic has hostile life forms. Does Carrion have any life? We didn't decide. I guess we do have life. Yep, it's overrun with life. In a corrosive atmosphere, so that's interesting. And hostile life forms threaten it. Dead rock. Settlement trouble. Preyed upon by raiders. And the first look is built within a repurposed ship and obvious social stratification. Okay. And then Brink. We've got our first look. And then the settlement trouble. Overdue delivery. So, all right. So we've kind of got our first sector set up. And then the last thing we have to do is to create a local connection. And that represents our NPC that we start with. So we know a single connection within the starting sector. So I'm going to have to think about that. All right, so now we need to create a connection. And I think I know what we're going to do with this. This person is going to be like a, shall we say, like a xenoarchaeologist on Carrion, because it's a research station. I did a little more work on Carrion, just randomly rolling stuff up. It has these fungi-encrusted caves, which came up twice, so I guess that's all we get. From space, there were sludge-filled river networks and expansive fungal plains. So it's overrun with fungi that can feed on the corrosive elements, right? So what would harm us would provide the carrion, the fungi with food, and the world's called carrion because things die and then the fungi just sort of eat you. I kind of like that. So we have these fungi-encrusted caves, and there's also a barren vault on this world. So I think this guy is researching the barren vault, probably from orbit, and maybe needs to get down there. Maybe the inciting incident is going to be she's going to visit him, and he's going to say, we found this vault, we need to get down there. So we're going to create our first connection. And this is going to be a troublesome connection because it's sort of I just started sort of easily. And So now we have to do some character creation to set up this character. So, so let's create some notes for this guy. So first, let's give him a name, or her. So the name is her. Okay, so her name is Rowena Malik. And her call sign is Zephyr. Okay, and so now if we look at the way he says to set this up, her role, her location, her role, and so on. So location is going to be on Relic. Her role is going to be a xenoarchaeologist, researcher. And her location is on the station of Relic, right? And that'll populate when we save it, right? Or it should. I guess not. That's unfortunate. All right, Relic. And so now let's see. We also need to give her a first look, a character goal, and revealed character aspect. So first look, let's roll twice on that. Wiry and armed. Okay. And character goal. Find a person. Okay, so I think Rowena is here because one of her fellow xenoarchaeologists went missing, and she's looking for him. And maybe that'll be our inciting incident that she's going to ask Krista for help, perhaps. And then we get 2 revealed character aspects. 1, 2. Because we know this person a little bit. And they are passive, and gifted. So one of the things that Sean says to do is start with like first look and maybe a roll or something, and then role play it out, and then add the goal and the revealed aspects as they become revealed to you. So that is our first connection to Rowena Malik. So so let me set up a picture for her, and then I will bring you back. All right, folks, we're back. I've got Rowena Malik set up. Found a picture online. So she is basically a connection for us, and I don't think she goes into characters here because the character, it's not like in Ironsworn, there really aren't any characters other than your character and maybe the ship. Rowena doesn't have any stats, she doesn't have health or anything like that. She could turn into a companion or something for us eventually, but right now she's just a connection that will be one of the things that we're working on. So she's our initial connection, and she is found on Relic Station, which is right there. And so that completes our connection. We've given her a name, and then in terms of, let's see, do we give them... Do we have to forge a bond with them? Make the move. Take a look at make a connection move, shown below. Instead of rolling assume an automatic strong hit, you create a connection, give them a roll and a rank. Whenever they aid you on a move closely associated with their roll, add +1 and take +1 momentum on a hit. All right, so let's actually make that note here. Whenever Rowena aids Krista in her role, as an archaeologist, and researcher, add +1, and take +1 mo on a hit. And so that lets us know, kind of what she what she can do. So we kind of click it, and all right. So she's our first connection. I don't know if we need to mark her here. So she's going to be involved with the inciting incident. So I think what's going to happen is Chris is going to arrive on the station maybe to ask Rowena to do something. And Rowena's got this problem, right, that she's trying to find a fellow xenoarchaeologist who went missing, perhaps on the world of Carrion. And we're going to have to figure out how to get down there safely. Maybe Rowena has a way to do it. And we're going to have to deal with the corrosive atmosphere and everything and the fungi. And by the way, before you think, oh, fungi aren't that bad, let's remember, I'm going to try to make this a sort of a Lovecraftian cosmic horror. And Lovecraft has fungi called the fungi of Yugoth, also known as the Migo. And these things are like insectoid fungi that can like conquer worlds and stuff. So it may be that on this world there are just static fungi growing, but some of them may have grown up into this like semi-sentient thing that can attack you and so on. So it might be actually pretty dangerous down there. Now, I don't know if her friend has been lost on Carrion or maybe lost in Deadrock or Brink. We'll see. We'll ask the Oracle and stuff when we start our first play session and begin our inciting incident. But guys, that is the end of session 0, and you can see why I tried to break it up with there's one more Oracle we have to roll. Hang on. There's a sector trouble. And right, because we have settlement troubles here. But I think sector troubles are separate. So let me check on that, and I'll bring you right back. Yep, we missed that. There's an entire sector trouble. So let's roll that. And the sector trouble 29. Energy storms rampant. Okay, so that is in the entire sector, energy storms are rampant. So let's build a new journal that's going to be Chronos Tide Journal, right? And this will tell us whatever happens in Chronos Tide. And the sector trouble is energy storms are rampant. And so that is going on, and maybe that's why her friend is missing. We'll have to see when we'll have to see when we come back. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I hope this didn't bore you. I know this was a bit of a struggle for me because character creation and world truths I've done before. I've never actually done this thing before, so as I warned, there could be some kind of little blips and a little bit of struggle. I also want to point out, in case YouTube is watching, right, Rowena's picture came from Pixbay, free reuse. So yeah, it's free for public use, and so all of the images are public domain, and therefore I shouldn't get any copyright strikes. So let's hope that's true. Until next time, when we will start session 1, I am Scrapperlock, and this has been Starforged Alpha Cluster.